Okay, what are the important articles for the day? We will discuss them briefly. I will tell you because today's articles are not conceptually new. Those are the same topics that we discussed previously also. Okay. So the first article is the same topic that we discussed previously. Ashoka University case, freedom of speech. Remember? Article 19, clause 1 and clause 2. And how is it important in a democracy? Again, I will briefly give the funda. Let's say if a university professor criticizes a government policy, should he have the freedom to do so? Or should we regulate the free speech? This is the debate here. We already discussed in the previous articles about the doctrine of reasonable restrictions and how is it relevant in a democracy. See, the whole point of this is the simple point. You have to balance between Article 19(1) and 2 for the safety of this country. Now, the homework that you need to do is, you can go to the Telegram channel that I mentioned, Hindu Highlights, and search for freedom of speech. Just type freedom of speech, you will get a lot of articles on the same thing. And in that you will find this specific article, Anuradha Basin versus Union of India case. So here you will see the doctrine of reasonableness, which is linked to Article 19 clause 2. Write down the homework because I have already explained all these topics. Okay. What are the things that you need to do? Article 19 clause 1. Go to the original text of the constitution, read it, understand the meaning. What are the 6 freedoms given under Article 19 clause 1? Then clause 2 also talks about the doctrine of reasonableness, meaning there are some reasonable restrictions. Reasonable restrictions. Now what is this reasonable restriction? What are the restrictions mentioned here? What is the Anuradha Basin versus Union of India case? And recently there was a issue regarding Ashoka University professor. See, that's why I keep telling that articles keep on repeating the same point. Different writers will write the same point. So there's no meaning if you continue to read the same article again and again. There is nothing new in our arguments, nothing new to learn, except one, that this judgment, Anuradha Basin versus Union of India case, is something new to you if you have not studied it before. Okay, you can go and search for this. There are other issues related to freedom of speech also. All those issues you will find it in the Telegram channel. So read those judgments. Okay, that's all. That is the only takeaway here. See, today's newspaper does not have many important articles, all are repetitive, but I am linking it back to the previous articles. What you should search in the Telegram channel, you should understand, right? So that is the reason I am telling. Okay. To those who are new for the first time, do you know the Telegram channel I am talking about? Go to Telegram and search without a space. Search for this. If you have the phone, you can search right now. In that channel, you will find freedom of speech related articles from the past 5 years. Okay, you will see the relevant judgments and various dimensions that you can find in that topic of freedom of speech. That is the first article. Clear? Check for that. Now, the second article is again something straightforward which we have already discussed with respect to diplomacy. What do you mean by diplomacy? What is diplomacy? Any PSR students? Normal language. What is diplomatic? You must be having official communication. What is, okay, you are telling about the nature of the communication. Official is the description, you attach it to it. But what is the purpose? That is one of the dimension. But ultimate funda, why do we want to engage in diplomatic talks? Why should we maintain relations? Simply put, for our own benefits. Don't get confused. Straightforward, one point agenda. If it doesn't benefit us, we should not engage. Clear? That is called, in a very sophisticated language, strategic autonomy. Same thing. The nature of our diplomatic engagement. In fact, this is the nature of diplomatic engagement of every country. For example, if you want to talk about the nature of diplomatic engagement of US, what is the value it stands for? It says it stands for democracy. But only in those places which benefits US. Let's say, for example, the Gulf. Wherever you find oil, throughout the 20th century, US was very desperate to give them democracy. Wherever it wanted to have some strategic control, it wanted to give them democracy. For example, Afghanistan. It tried its best, didn't work out. So they exited after 20 years. So the point being, what is your methodology of communication and what is the image you are projecting to the world? These two are important. India is known for its reliability. As a leader of Global South. What is the nature of Global South? What do you mean by Global South, first of all? Let's say you have this, okay, entire globe. To the south of the equator, you have developing countries which are relatively poorer than the countries in the north. These folks have wealth, and as a reason they have more power. The countries in the south are poor, but they have huge population. So they have more bargaining power also. So India wants to be the leader of the global south, and we need to realign our diplomatic engagement for that leadership of global south and ultimately become Vishwaguru. Okay, this is our objective. So this article should also be looked at from this lens. Now, when we are talking about diplomatic engagement, one of the dimension is trade. Right? In that trade engagement, you have to always understand an engagement with a different country in terms of trade. For this, there is a technical term called terms of trade. Homework. Read about this. Okay? Now, let's say we are importing some X amount of value, X worth amount of goods to the world. So when you want to understand or when you want to communicate to the examiner, okay, this country is very important, you have to tell, out of this X, let's say we are talking about a country like UK. How much percentage of this X will come from UK? How much orders are we getting from UK? Let's say if it is like 20%. Don't you think it is very important? Yes or no? But if I give you a random number like it's, let's say UK is worth 12 billion trade. Do you really think it will make any sense if you don't know? Like if we want to establish the importance of this country, if I give a random number and leave it like that, will it help the examiner to understand that you understood the issue? No. So even when articles are giving random numbers like this, your homework should be to go to the web, check what is the amount of exports totally for entire world. How much are we, sending it out? How much of them are we importing? How much is UK importing from India? We have to know that number. Similarly, you have to know the same thing for European Union. Now the context of this article, I'll just take a step back and explain briefly. Here you need to know some concepts. Okay? The concept of economic integration. Okay? Some concept, economic integration. Let's say there are two states, X and Y. When I say state, it is not Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, that state. I am talking about the political concept of state. State which has population, territory, government, and ultimately sovereignty, which is the most important thing. I am talking about a sovereign state. Two independent countries where nobody else controls their decision making ability. They are engaging in a transaction of economics. There is an exchange of goods. There is an exchange of services, people. Now, depending on the level of comfort and the level of need, mutual dependency, they will decide how much they want to engage. Yes or no? Everybody looks for their own benefit. Now, let's say a country like China has ability to dump any goods on a country, small country. Do you think that small countries, local people can survive there? Like let's say for example, you are manufacturing some plastic toys in a country like Y. Very small. You don't get raw materials cheaper than China. You don't get technical, abilities like China. So let's say if this country makes a toy for 10 rupees, China will dump it for 1 rupee. Now, do you think Y can compete? The population or the companies in a country Y, they will be able to compete? No, right? So the Y, to protect its economic aspect of sovereignty, will impose some tariffs. Tariffs means an additional cost that is incurred when you are importing something. It can be duties also. Additional, on the top of that, some additional duties also can be imposed, customs duty, etc. Now, this will make it even. Even China will become 10 rupees and local production will also be 10 rupees. Now, when both products enter into that economy, it is up to the consumer. What product they will buy, it's up to them. So, China should compete to give better quality at same cost. That's how they will win over in the market. Now, this is the basic concept of an interaction from an economic angle between two countries. Okay. Now, there are some terminologies that you need to prepare when you are preparing for understanding this article. So, this article is a combination of international relations and economics. So, what I am expecting is that you understand this levels of economic engagement. So, there are terms like free trade agreement, then you will have preferential trade agreement, then you have comprehensive economic partnership, then you have like there are many levels like this which I cannot explain in detail right now. And finally the best is economic union, meaning a group of countries will come together and say, okay, all these countries will follow a single set of rules and laws. Okay? EU, Economic Union, European Union is one such economic union. So collectively, EU will take a decision. Okay? Previously, until a few years ago, 5-6 years ago, United Kingdom was also a part of EU. And it decided, okay, this is not working out for me because I'm losing money. They decided to come out. That concept is called Brexit. Britain exit. Okay, simply put. EU was one of the largest trade partner, and within that block, UK, United Kingdom or Great Britain as such, was giving us large chunk of money. After that, there are two different laws now. Okay? As a result of this, what happened to India is our negotiating power came down slightly. Recently, what happened again is they decided, okay, UK and EU decided we will negotiate for a better terms and make things easier for movement of trade and goods. Goods and services. Trade became easier. So the article writer is saying, okay, now they have reset their ties. This is a very good opportunity for India to realign our policies so that we can take leverage of their partnership and therefore look at opportunities which will generate more wealth for our country. In this, specifically, we are talking about seafood exports because this is a very big revenue churner for India. But the problem is, when you are reading, when you are reading a topic like WTO, you will read the importance of sanitary and phytosanitary measures. See, we were talking about tariff and non-tariff barriers in our previous classes. You must have remembered when in the initial days when we were talking about non-tariff measures. Tariff means directly imposing tax. Non-tariff barriers means expecting some technical standards. Technical standards, meaning, let's say for example, you want to export certain quality of fish. UK at the border will say, unless and until I find this quality, I will not let that product come into my country. That is sanitary and phytosanitary measures, non-tariff barriers. We discussed this in the context of CBAM. You remember this? Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. Don't remember? No? Okay. See, slight detour. I'll briefly tell you what this is. Let's say for producing any goods, if you are using energy from carbon emitting resource, let's say if your energy in India, 75% or 60% of our energy is coming from coal, 50 to 60%. Depending on which month statistics you are seeing, roughly let's say 50 to 60% of it is still coming from coal. Using that power produced from coal, you are building a product. that product should be quantified as a carbon emitting product according to this carbon border adjustment mechanism, and there will be an additional carbon tax to stop polluting products from entering into their country. And India feels this is slightly discriminatory because historically they have polluted more. Now when India is growing, you should not say this. This is our argument, because it's morally right, but practically, even morally also, it is not right. You are not taking the responsibility that you have committed. When you take a look at the history of Europe, entire European history is that of colonialism. How did Great Britain grow? Isn't it with this coal? Isn't it with the resources that it looted from the rest of the world? If you take a look at British Museum, you will probably take a world tour, because they have, brought articles from across the world that they have ruled. British Empire was called the land that never sees a setting sun, meaning that it had empires across all time zones. That was the nature of colonialism. So they looted every country and they developed their own country. Now they are teaching us moral science. This is the argument that India is coming up with. Who will take responsibility of that? Nobody is taking that responsibility. This is the carbon border adjustment mechanism. In our economic survey, you will find a mention of this. So this is very important for last year prelims, this year prelims, and next year prelims also. Please note this CBAM. Okay. Now coming back, these kind of technical standards are imposed on the products coming into the European Union, which will make things difficult for small MSME sector. MSME means micro, small, medium enterprises, as opposed to the heavy industries, which is a different ministry. Again, Ministry of Heavy Industries is a different ministry. MSME is a different ministry. Okay. So what is the technical definition of this MSME? It was revised in 2020, somewhere in May 2020. May 13th, 14th or 15th, somewhere around these days, there was something called Atmanirbhar package. During the first COVID lockdown, the Ministry of Finance announced some reforms. This technical definition is important for prelims. Go to the ministry website, download the document and see the technical definition from turnover angle, from investment angle. Usually UPSC will not expect you to remember numbers, but these definitions are important. So go and remember those numbers. Anyway, the point of MSME is, those are very small, they will not have capital like big companies, so they will suffer when you have to stick to these standards. So why it will become difficult is because, let's say you are a small fishing farmer, you caught the fish, you have some pond, and then on the side you have agricultural land. You are doing both. So usually in small areas in coastal regions, they will rotate the capital between fisheries and agriculture. Big farmers can do lot of things, but usually medium-sized farmers will rotate the capital. Now when you want to export your, let's say you got good fish which is locally cultivated, but the danger is you have to get a certification from a lab which says that, okay, this fish is grown in a pond which does not have antibiotic levels beyond the permissible levels. That certification cost is extra. Not everyone can bear that certification. Now that certification is done, okay, now you export. It should reach within the time before that goods get spoiled. That is another cost. You have to improve your logistic efficiency. Now let's say on the right hand side of India map, that is the east coast, you have to move all the way from the east coast and move to the European Union. This will be very expensive logistic wise, because India's logistic sector, the other way discussed, 14% of the GDP is incurred for India's logistic sector, as opposed to the global average of 7 to 8%, or at max 9% additional cost. So all this are drawbacks for India. Internally we have to improve, but externally use, the reshaping of the global order. Indian policy should react and adjust for whatever is happening across the world, and that is the purpose of diplomacy, and that is what I wanted to teach through this article. Directly, if you read this article, it won't take you more than couple of minutes, but you need to know the basics of economics, concept of economic integration, what is the purpose of diplomacy, what is the WTO measures. All this should be taken into consideration. These are the basics of economy that you need to understand for understanding this article. Clear? So, quick recap. What am I expecting you to know? Levels of economic integration, World Trade Organization, tariff, non-tariff barriers. And within that, you have something called WTO compliant schemes. I will explain those points also very quickly. See, I told you that two countries, X and Y, when they want to survive, the smaller country wants to survive, it will impose tax. But it should be in a way that it will only protect the smaller people in their own country. But if world encourages the trend, do you think globalization can flourish? Globalization has many benefits. Across the world, there is an agreement that we should try to create a globalized world. That is why even India says Vasudhaiva Kutumbam. Okay. But practically, we have to wait. We have to wait until the country is ready to handle that. So, what is the limit? What is reasonable? What is not reasonable? That is discussed in World Trade Organization. In that World Trade Organization, you will have tariff and non-tariff barriers. There are many concepts like blue box, green box, what kind of subsidies are allowed. Those will be dealt in basic classes. Okay. One of the scheme that I can quickly tell you is the scheme of ROTTEP, remission of duties. Okay, you will see it here somewhere. I don't know if it is given here. Yeah, remission of duties and taxes on exported products. See, this is a WTO compliant scheme by the Directorate General of Foreign Trade, or DGFT, which is an office under the Ministry of Commerce. So this is another prelims pointer that you need to focus on. So this article is very important in the sense that it will test your basics on prelims pointers. So that's why it is very important. So you need to understand the difference between this scheme and the previous scheme called MEIS. This scheme is no longer there, but it is still important because the concept under that scheme can be given as a statement and say that, okay, this is the purpose of ROTTEP. That is wrong. What they are testing there is your awareness of the change from old regime to the new regime. What is happening here? India is protecting its companies or its exporters by giving additional incentives, additional money. As per WTO, we are not supposed to give additional subsidy for exporting. It is okay to give incentives for producing in India, but it is not okay to give incentive for exporting. Let's say I am exporting this pen. You cannot say, okay, you send this to a country like China and earn 10 rupees. On the top of that, I will give you 2 rupees more. That is not allowed as per WTO. India used to do that under MEIS. Okay. This updated scheme says that, okay, I am imposing some taxes when you are exporting. As a government, I will import some taxes. You might be earning some money. On that, I am imposing some tax. Now, this is additional cost for me if I am sending this. Okay, don't worry. The government says, I will give this taxes money back within, let's say, 120 days. An economy is a cycle, right? So you have to rotate that money. Government gives that money back after some time. Only the taxes part, taxes and duties part, that is ROTTEP. So UPSC can ask a statement saying that, okay, MEIS is there. Whatever quality was there attached to MEIS, UPSC can change that statement and give it as a ROTTEP scheme. So statement can be, under ROTTEP scheme, it is okay to give export subsidies. What is UPSC testing there? Your awareness of the WTO regime and India's response. This will look like current affairs topic, but all they are checking is the logic there. Okay? So this is why newspapers are important. This is how you are supposed to read them. That is the takeaway from this article. Okay? Now, should India amend its nuclear energy laws? This we will discuss elaborately under alternative sources of energy, and within that you have nuclear. Today, out of 100% of energy produced in India, energy means power, out of that roughly you only have 2% from nuclear energy, very negligible. Why? People are scared. What happened in Japan in 2011 when a huge earthquake came? They were scared that it will lead to dismantling of that nuclear power plant, and we don't know what will happen. We don't know where that nuclear waste will be dumped. What will happen to the local people? There are so many fears associated with nuclear power. So, to address those fears, we have some laws. But those laws are so restrictive that we are not allowing even safe ways of nuclear power. So the context of this article is a discussion on whether we should change the policies and the laws associated with nuclear power. In my opinion, this is an evolving issue and a recurring issue. Nothing really important at this point of time. We will again get this issue at a future point in your preparation days. So no need to worry about this today. So we will push this for a later point of time. Now, this article is again something related to your static awareness. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Yeah. How do I explain this? Let's understand a business. What are the factors of production for a business? Land, labor, capital, enterprise or entrepreneurship. See, this is the business idea. For this business idea, you need this. Okay? Now, this article is relevant for how to use this capital efficiently. Let's say a person is giving loan to a business. Why? What is the expectation? You grow this business, pay back that money as interest. This X is a bank or a group of banks. Y is a company that is expected to grow. What if this business fails? What will happen to the money? At least some part of it should be recovered, right? This IBC is a mechanism to recover that money. What is the need for coming up with this? you need to briefly understand the concept of non-performing asset. Let's say a bank gives money to Y. After 90 days, if interest is not paid, that asset is classified as non-performing asset. How will you recover money from such kind of a business? That's a very big headache, right? Recovery agent work. Not everyone who has a surplus money can give or make money in lending business. Let's say you have 100 rupees more. You gave it for a loan with the expectation that it will give you more interest. That business fails. How will you recover that money? That is the problem IBC wanted to deal with. So it created a very streamlined procedure. So in your economy classes, in money and banking, this is a standalone topic. The whole concept of non-performing assets, what are the measures taken by the government of India historically from the last 10 years? Why did they work? Why did they not work? What is the purpose of introducing IBC in 2016? What is the landmark Bhushan Steel judgment? All this will be dealt in your basic classes. I'll give you a brief background. The problem with any creditor means someone who is giving money, is to recover that. Not only recover that, recover within time. What if you get the money back after 100 years? It's of no use. Let's say you took 10 rupees in 1900 as a loan. If you give that 10 rupees, you're most likely not going to get anything out of it. Not even a cup of tea. Inflation will be eroding the value. So you should get it within time period. So the time period is supposed to be fixed legally. So this so-called case of Bhushan Steel pushed the maximum possible limit to roughly around 1 year, you can say 330 days to be very precise. That too in extreme cases only. IBC, if I'm not wrong, I don't remember the exact number of days. I think it's 180 days now. Once you go and check, okay, as per law, it's 180 days. That is 6 months. Within 6 months, the process should begin and the money should be recovered. For this, you need a institutionalized mechanism. You need to have professionals who can do this for you. They will charge a fee for taking that. So banks or a creditor, let's say for example, a company will not take loan from only one bank. It's not like a personal loan. It will raise money from all the banking institutions. Let's say SBI will give some amount. HDFC will give some amount. Non-banking financial companies will give some amount. All of them will be at loss when company fails. So this group of people will come together and form what we know as the committee of creditors. They will collectively take a decision and outsource this responsibility of taking money back to an insolvency professional. That insolvency professional should have a qualification that is decided by IBC, a law. They will give out that entire responsibility and that power to this professional. That professional will do the activities, take some money out. Of course, you are not going to get 100% in a failed business, but at least some part of it, the best possible part, should come out. They will sell the land, the assets, everything of that company and take money, whatever is there, and give it to the creditors. Even in creditors, there are two kinds: financial creditors and operational creditors. Operational creditors means, let's say you are an employee of that company. You are owing something to that. You are supposed to get some salary. If you are not getting, you are also part of the deal. How much can you get, etc., is a different question. But you are an operational creditor. You are offering a service. Let's say a construction company gets credit from a brick supplier. Usually this is how the business is run. They will give material in advance and they will expect some time gap for making money. because this is the norm in the industry. They will be given on credit. So you will have trade receivables. Okay, that is a component of operational credit. Nobody is talking about that. So the biggest criticism, so this article is about how effective it is. So when you read the article, you will notice that somewhere around here, there will be percentages, how much of it is working, how much of it is not working. Read that article now and you will be able to appreciate it. Clear? Again, this is related to basics. That's why basics are important. Current affairs is not a new subject. It is just an extension of your static part. And it is a development of your static part. Today's current affairs will become part of static tomorrow. When IBC was in discussion, it was current affairs. Now it is a part of static. What was part of static is no longer part of static. It is removed and updated now. That is how current affairs should be treated. One theme. It's a solution for a problem. Clear? So what is there in newspapers? A curated form of that will enter into textbooks probably 6 or 7 years later. So it is an evolving game. Current affairs should be looked at like that only, an extension of basics. So every day when you read newspapers, it is an extension of the same thing. That is how you are supposed to read it. Okay? Read it every day, then and there itself you will be able to finish the topic. Now, how big tech is outpacing the regulatory rule book. Very lengthy article, it will look like that, but simple funda. Technology is neither good nor bad. It is the human beings behind that which make it good or bad. There are bad people, therefore government should come in to protect the sovereignty and stop companies from extracting value out of it. Okay? So this is what you have to focus on. Clear? Regulation should be in such a way that the bad aspects of technology is tamed and technology should be used for the benefit of people only. The problem with AI is its evolution is so quick that even industry players are sometimes not able to adapt. Forget the governments. So here you need to understand the concept of regulatory sandbox. What is the concept of this regulatory sandbox? Simply put, you introduce a tool. Government understands a small part of the technology and it will deploy for public use. Depending on the issues that come out of that, laws will be shaping up. And then one more element. Like this, phase by phase, you will add more and more technological aspects. And that is how you are supposed to prepare your laws. So this is an article which says the same thing but in a very lengthy way. Just read it quickly, you will be able to understand it. Okay, India, Central Asia. Please remember this. Central Asian region is a very important theme for current affairs. What is the economic significance of Central Asian countries? What are the Central Asian countries? 5 stans, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, what else? Turkmenistan. Okay, all these countries. Just go and look at the map. That is one more aspect. Take it down as a homework. What are the Central Asian countries? What is the importance of INSTC? This year question was asked. What is the importance of Chabahar? So from IR news, you will see geography mapping questions. They are important for that reason. Okay? For prelims. Now, COVID-19 vaccines. Again, very lengthy topic. I'll explain the basics of this topic. Simply put, what is the central point given in this article? COVID-19 new variant is rising. You don't have to worry. Some people need vaccines, some people don't. Nobody knows who is that some people. That's the point. We will simply say that comorbidities. And now, because of the vaccines, we don't know, because of the official statements given by Pfizer, which says that we don't know what can happen. Now, these comorbidities, are they induced by vaccine, or are they saving us from existing comorbidities? Are they adding new headaches to us? I personally know a few students who had paralytic attacks after taking vaccines. Initially, I did not believe. I thought it was all, anti-science campaign. Even I said that you should all need vaccines. But official data itself says that we don't know what will happen. Importance of scientific temper in a society. We should question everything, and we should not curb anyone who is questioning, even in times of crisis. Yes, we needed vaccines, but we also need to have that ability to take a choice. If a healthy person decides, I don't want a vaccine, don't make it mandatory for him. If that person is okay to get a disease, that is up to him. But at least be transparent, because you might survive a COVID attack, but it's possible that you might not survive the side effects of a vaccine. So here, an informed citizenry coupled with open communication of what is the reality out there is important. Yes or no? See, if the company says, okay, we did whatever we can in the best possible time, there might be side effects, it's up to you. If you want to take it, otherwise don't take it. It is up to the people to take it or not. What is the role of government? Let's say out of 100%, 90% of it is good. 10% is bad. People have this tendency to amplify this 10% and show it as 100%. Right? So government's role should be to say, please don't believe in this fake news, only this much is the problem. Spreading right kind of information is important from government's perspective. Clear? So this is the regulatory angle. But what about the biotechnology aspect of a vaccine? Vaccine, let's say for example, this is the cell. You need to understand cell biology. The purpose of a vaccine is to safeguard this vaccine. Yes or no? Sorry, safeguard this cell, not vaccine. This vaccine. Now, vaccine is stopping everything that is attacking this cell, ideally, from that virus. Whatever may be the mechanism, this cell should be protected at a very fundamental level. For that, you will have body immune system, white blood cells are there. In that, you will have different types of cells, B cells, T cells, etc. What are these B cells, T cells will be explained in biotech class, or if time permits in a separate class, I will take this. Okay? But this is what it is. Once you understand the basics of immune system, basics of cell biology, you will understand the difference in the mechanism of mRNA vaccines, DNA vaccines, etc. I have explained this in the Telegram channel. Just search for it. You will get various diseases, various vaccine mechanisms. Just go and search in the Telegram channel. You will get all those articles from 2019. More than enough to prepare this concept of vaccines. Okay? That is what we are supposed to see here. Don't try to by heart all these variant names, because even ICMR stopped following how many variants are coming. What about UPSC aspirants? Okay, that's it for the day. See you tomorrow.